Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am located at 1563 Main Street in lovely Peckville, Pennsylvania, and I am right here with you each and every Sunday at this time on this station to bring you, the landowner, the information you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And of course, and as always, and let me tell you, I think it'll be clear again today that you should know that I, Doug Clark, the Clark Law Firm, has not, do not, and will not, never have, never, ever, ever will represent gas or pipeline companies. I represent the Pennsylvania landowner, oil and gas right owner, anywhere where property or gas rights are located in Pennsylvania, regardless of your physical location, as long as the property or the rights are in Pennsylvania, and regardless of the size of your property or the amount of rights you have. I've represented people with way less than 1 acre, way less than a half acre. I've represented people with thousands and thousands, even over 10,000 acres. So regardless of the size of the property, regardless of the location of the property or gas rights, provided it's in Pennsylvania, give me a call. See if I can help you. I talk about reviews and consultations. I do them with people literally all across the country, even in other countries and in Pennsylvania. I love what I do, and I want to help as many people as I possibly can because I see all the time. So unfortunately, people being taken advantage of all over the place. And I want everyone to feel comfortable to call. A great way to start is a review and consultation. Usually take 1 to 2 hours, but call. I say these things because you hear me say, I grew up, listen, Google Earth it. Airport Road, right off the Dime Road. My grandfather's farm is on the Dime Road, Armstrong County, Pennsylvania. Very rural area. My parents never had a lawyer, never needed a lawyer, never would have called a lawyer. So I understand that mentality. I'm the first person who went to college in my family, certainly the first lawyer and only lawyer in the family. And I would say that I really understand hesitation. And I hope you listen to the radio show. You get an idea of the sincerity that I have in wanting to help people, wanting to help landowners, farmers, I don't care who you are, owning land and property and gas rights in Pennsylvania, because I'm telling you, you need assistance. And hopefully you'll call me or call somebody who knows what they're doing, who is going to work for you, who has the experience. I can tell you this, I don't want it to sound bad, but I know I do. And I know where my heart is and I know where my mind is. I'd also encourage you, check out the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. You can learn more about me there, what I do. You can read the testimonials on the websites, all written by prior clients. And truth be told, I rarely even ask for testimonials anymore because I think we have well over 100 testimonials on the website. So, and I just really encourage you, ask around. I've represented people in pretty much all gas producing areas in Pennsylvania. I really want to help you. And I say this because, again, you people out there, people need assistance because we got to stop people being taken advantage of. So, again, don't be afraid to call my office. Learn about reviews and consultations. Put your toe into representation. You don't have to dive all the way in, but see if you like what we do, like what I do. Feel confident in me. Think I can help you. And then if you want to go further, you can. If not, that's okay too. But I want to make sure that I'm talking to and helping as many people as I possibly can. And I represent landowners, like I say, only landowners, and things for gas lease negotiations, pipeline agreements, surface use agreements, negotiations, review of all these documents, estate planning issues, estate planning in gas areas. Get the right plan for you. Don't get sold on some $5, $10, $15,000 estate plan if it's not right for you. Get what is right for you. Remember this radio show, I've been doing this since 2010. I, Doug Clark, have been doing all things Marcellus since 2010. I say all the time, and it's important, this radio show is general information, general advice, never specific advice for any person. My opinions. I tell stories. I go through documents. We want to get you thinking. And again, I'm not stopping the show. There's things happening all the time that we need to make sure. I need to make sure that Pennsylvania citizens, residents, non-residents with property rights or gas rights in Pennsylvania are protected. Again, because it's needed. It is needed. And most people out there that have dealt with the industry understand what I'm saying. Again, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me, and I hope you do, each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. Now, I am going to talk about politicians for a minute. And I'll tell you, I had the subjects I had written down. I kind of do an outline of the show. I have ideas that I want to talk about, and I just go riffing on whatever it may be. Now, sometimes I do shows on specific contracts and language, so it's more technical. But, I was getting ready to do this show. I was going through some of my paperwork here, and I said, I am so sick and tired of this belief. And I hear it from clients, I hear it from landowners, and I know it's out there in the community that politicians are out there helping and fighting for the landowner. Now, maybe there are some. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I think that politicians who are out there promoting, hey, we're helping for the landowner, where are these deliverables? And let me give you some examples. Because since I've been doing this nonstop, every law that I have seen, in my opinion, benefits the company far more than the landowner. The only thing that you may be able to argue is, hey, there was a law to give more information on royalty checks. Well, in my experience, that information was pretty much already given anyway. So you get to put a feather in your cap as a politician like you did something for the landowner. But guys, what is getting done for you? Well, in 2013, in Western Pennsylvania, let me give you a history lesson. Leases in Western Pennsylvania, older leases, generally never included pooling and unitization language. Didn't include it. And when they did not include it, that meant the company could not pool or unitize your property with other properties. It was specifically not included because the wells that they drilled, the vertical wells, not Marcellus, not Utica, these vertical wells, when the gas migrated to the well and came to the surface on Mr. Smith's farm, Mr. Smith got all the royalties. If Mr. Smith's farm was pooled or unitized with Mr. Jones's farm, Mr. Smith would have to share his royalties with Mr. Jones. So, Mr. Smith did not want to enter into a gas lease that allowed his property to be pooled with Mr. Jones or anyone else, because then he would have to share his royalties. And with a vertical well and what they call a conventional well, the gas migrates to the vertical well, is drilled straight down in the earth, goes up to the surface, and that surface owner, Mr. Smith, keeps all the royalties. So, without having language that says that you can pool the lease with other leases, the company could not do it. And that was done on purpose. So every farmer would have a lease that says, hey, you can't combine my property with anyone else, because when the gas comes off to the surface of my property, I want all the royalty from it. Pretty plain, pretty simple. Routine for decades in Western Pennsylvania. Do not include pooling and unitization language because I want to maximize my money. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, now what happens? Now, years and years later, again, these leases did not have pooling and unitization language. Here comes the big guys, the big companies, and they say, hey, We don't want to just drill straight down wells a few thousand feet down, vertically straight down. We want to go down 10,000 feet and then turn that well horizontally and go out 5, 10, 15,000 feet. So now Mr. Smith, who may have a 100-acre farm, he could have a 200-acre farm. Frankly, he could have a 500-acre farm. Mr. Smith says, okay, I had signed an old lease that did not include pooling and unitization language. And here comes the new company knocking on my door saying, hey, we want to pool and unitize your property with some other properties. And here's the piece of paper called typically a lease amendment modification, and I hope you guess it, ratification. Ratification. So, come knock on the door, say, oh, hey, Marcellus Shell, Utica Shell, millionaire, 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 shiny object, shiny object, shiny object. We want to make you rich. We want to make you rich. Oh, and just sign this paperwork and we'll drill horizontally and we'll make you rich. Well, Mr. Smith was smart. Mr. Smith said, I'm going to stop signing. I'm not just going to sign agreements. I'm going to put the pen down. I'm going to pick up the phone. So Mr. Smith says, no, let me understand this a little more. I realize that you're asking me to sign something. You're telling me this is going to be great. Well, maybe I should investigate this a little more. Oh, and Mr. Smith also says, I've heard about other people nowadays getting, at the time, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 an acre, $6,000 an acre for leases. I've heard at the time, 2013, people getting 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20% in royalties. I've heard about people getting no deductions whatsoever taken from their royalties. I am interested in that. And I have a lease that says you are not allowed, it does not include language that allows you to pool or combine my property with other properties around me. So you need my permission under my lease in order to pool and unitize my property so you can drill these long horizontal wells. If I do not sign, you are not able to pool and unitize my property with other properties, and thus you are not able to drill horizontal wells. So just like my neighbor who doesn't have a lease, you can't develop my property for Utica or Marcellus either. And my lease is only 12.5%, lowest allowed by law. My lease allows full deductions, and I have no other protections in my lease. So I'm not going to just sign your amendment, modification, and ratification. I am going to negotiate. I'm going to seek a per acre bonus in the thousands of dollars. I am going to seek a higher royalty, 15, 18, 20%, because my property is valuable and you cannot develop it unless I agree to your amendment, modification, and ratification. Smart move. Mr. Smith is a smart man. Many men and women in Western Pennsylvania became smart. Many, unfortunately, signed when the shiny object was talked about. We're going to make you millionaires. Many of them signed, but many of them didn't. Many of them learned and said, wait a second, I have some leverage. And I only have 12.5% royalty. I have full deductions. My neighbors are getting 18, 20% and no deductions. And they're getting between $3,000 and $6,000 an acre. So I'm not going to sign this. I have leverage. And why do I have it? Because back in the day when I signed this lease, I signed it so the company could not pool and unitize my property with someone else. So I negotiated something to my benefit, and now I am going to take advantage of it. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Well, the companies say, well, geez, I don't want to negotiate with Mr. Smith. I love the fact that if I don't have to negotiate with him, I don't have to pay him another bonus. If he has a 100-acre farm and the price at the time is $5,000 an acre, I do not have to give Mr. Smith a $500,000 up front. I also have a lease with Mr. Smith of 12.5%, lowest allowed by law. And if I don't have to negotiate with Mr. Smith, I can keep that 12.5%, and I don't have to worry about deductions because I can take them all. I can take all deductions under law. So if I have to negotiate with Mr. Smith, I may have to pay him $5,000 an acre. He has 100 acres. That's $500,000. I may also have to pay him 18% royalty, which is about, say a 33% increase roughly of royalty. And I may have to not be allowed to take deductions. I may now have to agree that I won't take deductions, which is going to be another massive amount of money that I can save as a company and not give to Mr. Smith. But here Mr. Smith is, who has a lease that does not allow for pooling and unitization. And I'm a company, and I need to pool and unitize his property in order to drill horizontal wells. I have to. So I have a problem. I don't want to negotiate with Mr. Smith. I don't want to negotiate with anyone like Mr. Smith. I don't want to pay Mr. Smith any money up front. I do not want to give Mr. Smith a higher royalty percentage. I do not want to pay Mr. Smith and not take deductions for post-production costs. No, I want to make all the money I can and give Mr. Smith none. But again, he has a lease that is not allowed to be pooled or unitized with others, and I can't develop the lease unless I can pool it or unitize with others. So what am I going to do? My opinion, I'm going to go out and try to snowball Mr. Smith. Tell him he's going to be rich. Here's some paper. Sign this amendment, modification, and ratification. Sign this. Here. Here's my pen. Oh, I'm a notary. Here. Sign. That's what I'm going to do first. And I'm going to get a bunch of people to do that because, unfortunately, there's a bunch of people that will sign anything. Which, gosh, if you listen to the radio show, I hope it can't be you. It can't be you. You can't listen to this show and just sign anything. You're not the people. But there are the people, and we all know them, and I see many of them. They'll sign anything. So they'll go out there and they sign as many people as they possibly can. Let's say there was 5,000 Mr. Smiths out there, 5,000 people that they had to get an amendment, modification, and ratification, or else they couldn't develop that property. So they go out there, and let's say they signed 3,000 of the 5,000 people. Well, they just made out like bandits. Company made out like bandits. But they still got 2,000 people they have to deal with, and they want to make as much money as they can, so they don't want to. They don't want to negotiate with those last 2,000. But if you can't pool and unitize the lease and you want to develop the area and the lease says you can't, what are you going to do? You're going to have to negotiate with them, right? Wrong. What else you can do? You can go to the legislature. You can go to the politicians. You can donate. You can lobby. You can push them. And you can say, hey, we want to develop these areas. It'll be great. But there's one problem. There are a bunch of leases there that don't allow pooling. There's a bunch of leases there that don't allow pooling, and the company doesn't want to negotiate with them. So, hey, legislature, how about you pass some legislation that says we don't need to negotiate with those people, that we can just pool and unitize these properties without having to pay them another dime, without having to pay them more bonus money, without having to pay them royalty without deductions. We want that type of legislation. Well, you may say, well, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. Well, stay tuned. I'm up against my first segment. I'm going to tell you what did happen and how, in my example, Mr. Smith and all others like him got the shaft. Got the shaft. And you're going to be surprised to hear this, but it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. The legislation passed. It wasn't even close. I'll be right back. And this is one example. We got another one coming up too. And that's why I'm so fired up. I'm so tired of hearing, well, the politicians are going to save us. They're going to say, they're going to change the no deductions. They're going to change the no deductions. I've been hearing that for 8 years. When's that happening? When is it happening? Every piece of legislation that I'm seeing is, I don't know what words I can use, but let's just say, there are words that I want to use. Every piece of legislation is sticking it to the landowner. I think I can say that. Sticking it to the landowner, in my opinion. I'm going to explain. I'll be right back. Stay with me. And remember, hey, look, call your politicians. What are you doing? Where is this no deduction legislation? Everyone wants my vote, but what are you doing for me? And what are you doing for the gas industry? I'll be right back. Keep listening. Each and every week to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Call all representation anywhere in the state, regardless of acreage, 570-307-0702. And I encourage you to call your politicians. What are you doing for me? And what are you doing for the gas industry? I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can join me each and every week. I hope you do at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. And remember, listen, I'm on a politician rant right now, and I'm going to continue because I'm fed up with it. I really am fed up with this idea that the politicians are working for the landowner in these oil and gas related matters. It's driving me out of my mind. I hear this stuff. I talk to people. They say, oh, they're going to pass something. They're going to pass something. Where the heck is it? Where is it? So let me get back to my story here. So real quick resetting. I'm going to be quick on this. But this is a big deal. This is mind-blowing to me. So leases in Western Pennsylvania used to not have language that included pooling and unitization. Precluded, doesn't have the language, so you're not allowed to do it. So companies now want to develop horizontal wells. So they need to have that language in the leases. So they go out, my opinion, they get a bunch of people to sign these amendment modifications and ratifications who don't understand them, who don't understand that they're agreeing to something that they should potentially get thousands of dollars per acre for, that they should increase their royalty, that they're now opening themselves to huge Marcellus, Utica pads, 20, 30, 40 acres even. You're opening yourself up to all of those, none of which could occur under the original lease. None of that. So company says, well, we don't want to negotiate with these people. Let's get them to sign. Let's get as many people to sign as we can without paying them a dime because they don't understand it. Then when turns out we have my example, we say I have Mr. Smith, whose lease does not allow pooling and unitization. He was smart. We're giving him 100 acres in this example, and he's saying, no, I want to negotiate. My neighbors are getting $5,000 an acre. We'll say 18%. Give me $500,000 and I'll go ahead and agree, just like everyone else around me, because you can't drill on my property just like you can't drill on theirs. So we said, let's pretend there was 5,000 people that were in this situation. Company was able to get 3,000 of these 5,000 to just sign amendment, modification, and ratifications without calling anyone like me who knows what they're doing. Get them to sign with the promises of future riches. Get people to sign because they're afraid to call an attorney. Tell people they don't need an attorney. Whatever it may be, get as many people as you can to sign. Now we look and say, of that 5,000, this is just an example. I'm making up the numbers as to illustrate this example. We're saying that there's Mr. Smith, and we have a total of 2,000 people just like him who have leases that say you cannot pool and unitize because that language was never included in the original agreement. And those leases are all at 12.5%, full deductions, and allow unlimited surface activity on their property. And as I say this, I am getting angrier and angrier because you know what these other leases do? They typically allow foreign pipelines. They allow pipelines, surface structures. They allowed everything because at the time, the person really only wanted a couple small wells and wanted to get free gas to their house. That's what they wanted. They never in a billion years contemplated foreign gas pipelines, 20, 30-acre Marcellus pads. Never in a million years. Never even, not even remotely close to anything in their thought. But what they did think about, we don't want to pool and unitize our lease with any other properties because if we do, we have to share royalty. And if we don't, and they drill a vertical well on the property, the company does, we'll get all the royalties and we don't have to share. So, company says, boy, we want to lease these, we want to drill these properties, but we don't want to negotiate because then we're going to have to pay money. Then we're going to have to pay royalty percentage of an increase. Instead of 12 and a half, we're going to have to give them 18, 20, 15, a higher royalty. Oh, and right now we can take deductions of any kind, any legal type of deduction we can take. And if we have to negotiate, we may have to give up that right and pay them not only 18% royalty, but also pay them royalty without deductions because it's a really valuable area, very valuable area. So what do? Well, if we don't want to talk to the landowner, let's do this. Let's go talk to the politicians. Go look. See how much money these companies give to politicians. Go look. And I don't care. I'm so sick of it. Politicians, whatever, be mad all you want. But just be truthful. Right? That may be crazy. But be truthful. Be truthful. So they go to the politicians and say, hey, we want legislation that we can pool and unitize these leases with other leases around them, even though we don't have the right now. We want you to give us the right through legislation. And when you do that, we won't have to negotiate with the people. And amazingly, many of these people live in these politicians' districts. They're your people. They're your people. The company isn't your company. They don't vote for you. Your people vote for you. You're there to represent those people, not the company. So, when the company comes and says, we want to add pooling and unitization and be able to do this without ever getting permission, what does the politician do? Well, if you have people in your jurisdiction, you should be saying, again, I'll say, heck no. But there's a couple other words we could throw in there, but we'll say heck no. Heck no. But what happens? Well, back in 2013, it was called Senate Bill SB 259. Well, on July 9, 2013, Governor Tom Corbett signed it into law. And what did it do? It gave companies the right to pool and unitize leases, which they otherwise could not have, as long as that company owned the properties or leases in that area. So, this law now allows a pooling and unitization of properties that could not otherwise be pooled or unitized. This law stripped landowners, like all those guys I grew up around, stripped them of their ability to negotiate, stripped them of it, cost them literally hundreds of thousands, combined tens of millions of dollars to the people. No wonder why the company wants legislation to help them. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. No wonder why. No wonder why. Because they don't want to pay the money to the people. They want to keep it themselves. They don't want to pay more royalty. They want to keep it themselves. But my question is, why does the politician want to agree to that? Why? Especially your district, but still, you're Pennsylvanians. Why? Why are we giving these companies every break? Why? Well, simultaneously acting and saying we're going to do something for you, the people. And again, I'm just fed up with it. So, this Senate bill, I don't have the number in front of me. I think it passed. There might have been one person or no people. I'll say, I don't have the exact number. You can look it up, Senate Bill 259. Again, signed by Governor Corbett in July 9, 2013. I don't make stuff up. Go check it out. Signed into law. Eviscerated, gutted, stripped people's ability to negotiate. And then, if that's not bad enough, and it is beyond bad enough, it is way beyond bad enough. If that's not bad enough, you know what else it did? It locked in no deductions. It also now allowed massive well pads, access roads onto these properties that could have never seen such development before because they did not allow pooling and unitization. But all of that is gone. All of that is gone. The Senate, I think, passed it unanimously. I think there might have been one or two people who voted against it, which is beyond my imagination. I learned a long time ago how naive I was, but I still just shake my head at amazement of this. Then the House passed it. 167 voted in favor of allowing this, and I'll call it forced pooling. Allowing pooling even though the leases said no, even though the people negotiated it that way and they said no. The House passed 167 to 33, and then it's signed into law. Look it up, Senate Bill 259, Governor Corbett signed it July 9, 2013. Unbelievable. Results, companies now make way more money, don't have to pay the people bonuses, don't have to negotiate it with them, and can now run roughshod over the property, which they couldn't otherwise have before this legislation was passed. And what do they say? Oh, well, it would allow for the more efficient development. It would allow for development. Hogwash. The companies would have negotiated with the people to allow for the development. That's what they're doing all over the place anyway. But no, you go to the politicians, you give politicians money, you donate, you lobby, and you get legislation. And who suffers? The landowner, the Pennsylvania landowner. Again, this is an opinion show. This is my opinion. But I'll tell you what, I stand 100% behind it, and I'd love to talk to any politician that voted for this because, in my opinion, well, I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt and say they have no idea what the heck they voted on or they didn't understand it. But I'll tell you this, if they did, then my question would be why? And then I would look to see how much money they get from the oil and gas industry. And then if I was in that area, I'd vote them out. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me each and every week at this time on this station. It's not always like this, but I'll tell you, I'm so sick and tired of this politician garbage, and I hear people say, well, I hear they're going to pass legislation where they're not going to allow deductions. Well, where is it? Show me where that is. Show me where. Nowhere. But here's the kind of legislation they pass. Senate Bill 259. And you know what? We're not done. Again, show me any legislation. Any legislation dealing with production of oil and gas benefiting the landowner. Show it to me. I want to see it. I'll talk about it. I'll gladly talk about it. But I'll talk about this too. Senate Bill 259, we'll talk about that. And again, think about this. How many times have people talked about, well, they're going to pass legislation for no deductions. They're going to do this about deductions. They're going to do this about deductions. It's never happened, and I don't believe it ever will. But people, in my opinion, keep drinking the Kool-Aid of this empty promise. It's never happened. And not only is it never happened, this crap like this stuff gets passed all the time. Well, not all the time, but gets passed. The stuff that hurts people get passed. The stuff that helps people, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You're listening again to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm going to cut this segment off here because I'm going to talk about the newest legislation that just hammers people in the head. If that was the first one was a gut punch, here comes a punch right in the nose. Right in the nose. And again, oh yeah, we're here, we're trying to help the Pennsylvania landowner. Think about this. Again, I'm not calling out any specific person. I'm calling out all of them. All of them. All of these false promises of things are going to do for you. And what in reality they do? Very, very wonderful things for the companies. Wonderful things. Why are they doing that? Well, think about it. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. Give me a call for representation. Again, talking about politicians right now, but call any and all documents. Stop signing. Pick up the phone. Put down the pen. Give me a call. 570-307-0702. 570-307-0702. And stay tuned. I can tell you the next great piece of legislation we have here in PA. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Make sure you join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. And remember, I represent landowners, only landowners, never have represented the gas or pipeline company, and I never, ever will, ever. Give me a call, learn about representation, reviews, consultations. Call before you sign, put the pen down, pick up the phone, call my office. I do all the reviews, consultations myself, negotiate all agreements, breaches, estate planning, buying and selling, you name it, oil and gas related. Give me a call before you do anything. 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. Regardless of your location, as long as the property or rights are in Pennsylvania. I do many, many of these over the telephone and many in person too, whatever you prefer. But call. Learn about reviews and consultations. They're a great, great place to start. 570-307-0702. And keep listening to All Things Marcellus each and every week. Now, back to the politicians. I mean, I can't help it, guys. I can't help it. I can't help it. You know, I've said this before. When I was a kid, my nickname for my 6th grade teacher was Douglas Unfair Banks, because I would always say, that's not fair. That's not fair. And I'm still saying it. I'm going to be 50. I'm still saying it. It's not fair. And I don't accept, well, it's just not fair. We need to do something about it. Tioga County, shut-in wells held there. It's not fair. Let's do something about it. Let's just not say, oh, well, that's the way it is. Forget that. That's not who I am. It's not who I am. So, politicians. What I didn't even plan on starting this, but I just got so fired up. So fired up that I'm sick and tired of these politicians saying and people believing that they're fighting for the small guy, for the landowner, for the gas right owner. When I'm not seeing it, guys. I'm not seeing it. This legislation is terrible for you. And it is glorious for the companies. Glorious. But yet it's sold to somehow benefit you. Now, of course, again, all this is my opinion, but I stand by it, boy. Boy, do I stand by it. So I told you about how in 2013, I thought, wow, this is unreal. Doesn't get much worse. They're forcing people who did not have pooling in their lease to now be able to be pooled and unitized, gutting them of their negotiation ability, costing them literally combined tens of millions and probably hundreds of millions of dollars when you include royalties and future development. Not even probably, like certainly. So, then I hear for years, they're going to pass legislation. Oh, my guy, my lady says, they're going to pass legislation. They're going to stop deductions. Well, where is it? Where is this legislation? Where? Somebody send it to me. Somebody email me. Show me where it is, because it doesn't exist. But what does exist? Well, at the end of 2019, Senate Bill number 694 passed 49-0. Well, that must be something really good, right? Heck yeah. If you're a gas company, it's a wonderful thing. Let me explain. So, technology has improved, so gas companies now can drill much longer horizontal wells, often called lateral wells, horizontal, meaning instead of drilling down and then out 5,000, 6, 7. Now they're going 8, 10, 15. They can even go 20,000. It's probably even going to go further. This means that the companies are going to save money by drilling these longer wells. They don't need as many pad sites. They don't need as many pipelines because they can connect them to the main well site, just the single well site. They don't have to truck water all these places. They can either truck it to one place or pipe it to one place. So companies, and it also reduces the cost of drilling significantly, and because they only have to drill one well, and once they're drilling through the formation, it's a lot cheaper than having to cement the casings going from the top of the earth down to their targeted depth before they go horizontally. So it's a great invention for the company. Allows them to make more money. It also is nice. I'll grant all of this. I believe in the truth. It's nice because you don't need as many well pads, and you also may have less truck traffic, but it's also really nice because the company doesn't need as many well pads. They don't need to engineer them. They don't need to drill the vertical portion, which is very difficult, expensive, casings. They don't need to take water as many places. They don't need as many easements. The wells are more productive, and they make a lot more money. But generically, there was less well pads and less truck traffic. Companies also don't have to pay to repair as many roads, all of those other things. So let me tell you this, guys. As good as it is for people, it's better for the company. Better for the company. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. So, many people know they were getting them in the last few years. These requests by various companies all across Pennsylvania. Hey, landowner, will you sign this request so we can drill these longer wells? Some are called multi-unit wells that would go through multiple units. Some are called cross-unit. Same thing, just different name. Going across one unit into another and so on. You would even see cross-unit laterals, which would be essentially horizontal wells that go through not just one, but multiple units. So let me tell you, I, as a lawyer, received many calls from landowners because they put the pen down and called me. Say, hey, what is this? They want me to sign this. Sounds like a great deal. What's going on? Well, I explained to them the leverage. I said, well, here's the situation. In many cases, you may have a lot of leverage. Some cases, may not. But many cases, you do. So what did we do? I won't get into specifics. I have confidentiality in many of these. But I'll say this. I negotiated, and at times to the great benefit of the landowner. Great benefit. Because the leases didn't allow these type of wells. And so, because the company was saving money, they had no choice but to negotiate with the landowners whenever the landowner had leverage, and we were able to get cash payments and other benefits. So again, if it wasn't profitable to negotiate with the landowner, the company wouldn't do it. But they wanted to drill these wells, so they negotiated. And we negotiated contracts that benefited the people. Then companies again said, hey, we want to make more money. So these people are negotiating these agreements, and we're having to pay them money. We're still going to make money, but we want to make more. So what do? Let's go out and try to get everyone to sign. Does this sound familiar, guys? Sign these consent documents, maybe even lease amendments, modifications, and you guessed it, ratification. We're going to have them sign these documents. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to drill these wells. You're going to get rich. We're going to do them faster. Hey, I know you're frustrated. We're going to drill wells. So some people will sign anything, and a bunch of people did. And then other people said, wait a second. Like Mr. Smith earlier said, wait, no. Let's call Doug Clark, 570-307-0702. Let's find out, what is this? Can we do anything about it? And people did. And I negotiated. And many people received a great benefit as a result of that. Some didn't. Many did. Companies say across the board, we don't want to give anyone any benefit. We want to keep all the benefits to ourselves. So We can either negotiate with people, or what else could we do? Well, you guessed it. We could go to the legislature. We can lobby. We can donate. We can lobby. We can donate. And we can seek to have legislation passed that says we're allowed to drill these multiple unit wells, these longer wells, even though the lease may not allow it. Or in cases the lease, even though the lease doesn't have language that would allow it. So what do? They lobby, lobby, lobby. And what do we get? Well, lo and behold, Senate Bill 694. Senate Bill 694, which essentially says, hey, you can drill these wells through these leases unless the lease specifically says there's no such thing allowed. Well, dang, nobody negotiated that because it wasn't allowed. If it's not written, it wasn't going to be allowed. So you didn't need to negotiate it. Just like in the pooling. When you eliminated the pooling clause, you didn't need to write in there, oh, by the way, you can't pool my property or unitize it with others. You didn't need to because the language authorizing that activity wasn't included. So people didn't say, hey, in the future, if you want to drill cross-unit wells, you're not allowed. People didn't do that because they didn't even know they would exist ever. So it was silent, which meant the companies, and they believed it, most of them, if not all, said, hey, we can't do this, so we're going to have to negotiate. So that's what they did. They went to the legislature. And what happened? Well, I suspect you may have a good idea. Gave you a hint already, but I'll explain here in the last segment. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, it's an opinion show. They all are. These are my opinions, but boy, I stick by them. Give me a call, any representation, 570-307-0702. I'll be right back after this break. And make sure you listen again each and every week at this time on this station. Been doing this show for 10 years, not stopping. I'll be back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Doing this show for 10 years. Join me each and every week at this time on this station for All Things Marcellus. Call my office, any and all representation. Put the pen down, pick up the phone, call me. 570-307-0702. Don't be afraid. Call the office. See if I can help you. Again, start review consultation. Great way to start. Find out if I can help you. Okay. I want to talk back to the politicians. I got a short segment here. So again, what are they doing for you? Well, I don't know. What are they doing for the gas company? Here, Senate Bill 694. What it does is allows cross-unit, multi-unit, cross-unit laterals, wells to go, even though your lease is silent, which we believe would say you can't do it unless your lease allows it. So companies were negotiating. People were getting benefits, money, benefits. I can't talk about them all. Benefits. Companies don't like that. So they go to the politicians. Hey, we want to be able to do this. We don't want to have to negotiate with Pennsylvania residents. That's what kills me. We don't want to negotiate with the people. We don't want to. We signed these leases. We got great deals. We got them royalties with deductions. We got 12.5%. We don't want to give them anything else. We don't want to. We're going to make more money. So, what's cheaper, going out and negotiate, or let's start lobbying the legislature? Let's start giving money, donating. Look and see, what are they giving and who are they giving it to? Think about that when you vote. And I'm not talking about any individual. I'm just talking about in general. Check it out. I'm not calling out any politician. I'm just calling out all of them. So, they say, here's this bill. Goes to the Senate. There's 50 senators. So, clearly, of the 50, some represent people in the oil and gas areas of the state, of the Commonwealth. Yeah, they do. But what happens when this bill totally benefiting the company so they don't have to negotiate with the people? And look, here's the deal. If you don't want to negotiate, just sign. But for the people that want to negotiate, again, gutted, stripped, and eviscerated. Passed the Senate. Senate Bill 694, 49 to none. 49 to none. 49 to none. And the best argument you can make was, well, now the company can just do it, and there's less development areas. that, well, if somebody didn't agree, then the company could still do it anyway, even though they didn't want to, and that'll benefit other people. But you know what it did? You know what it did? And then it was passed by the House and signed by the governor. By the governor. And you know what it did? It allowed companies not to negotiate with people. I had multiple files opened, negotiating, knowing the type of benefits that I could receive because I'd already received them in other cases. Very nice benefits for the people in their districts. And they were happening. We reached agreements. But no, they didn't want to pay you more money. They didn't want to give you more benefits. They went to the legislature, and the Senate passed it 49-0. Then it passed the House. Then it was signed by the governor. So, where is your legislation saying no deductions? Doesn't exist. Where's the legislation that says you can pull and unitize properties even though the leases are silent to it? The leases wouldn't allow it. Well, that exists. Where's the legislation that says you can drill across multiple units even though the lease is silent to it? Well, it's right here. That exists. But what doesn't exist is the legislation doing something for you. Something like stopping deductions. Something like forcing a per acre payment for pads. All kinds of things. Where are they? Where is that legislation, guys? No, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And yet, we hear this fighting for the landowner, fighting for the landowner, fighting for the landowner. Well, I'm going to tell you, in the legislature, I do not see it. I don't see it. I'm not talking about any single person. I'm sure there are people somewhere. I don't know. But I'm not seeing it because I'm seeing this stuff pass. So you're living in these areas, Susquehanna, Bradford, Tioga, Washington, Greene, anywhere. Ask your guy, your lady, your representative, what are you doing for me? Did you vote for this? Why? Why? And I would love to know if they have an answer for that. I'd love to. Nobody ever called me and said, hey, Doug Clark, we're thinking about doing this. What will be the impact on landowners? They'll say, oh, don't do this. We're doing great things. The company's still able to develop, and we're helping the people. Don't agree to that. Nope. Here it is. I'll tell you, drives me out of my mind. And it just is continuing. And I'm going to tell you what, I got a little bit of time left. Here's the deal. This legislation's passed, but yet people are still getting documents asking them to sign for these multi-unit wells. Let me tell you, secret, there still may be reasons that you can negotiate. But once you sign, those reasons are gone. So, and the reasons could be pipeline restrictions. There's many different things in leases that I can use or we can find to say, hey, no, even though there is this legislation, there's other ways to stop it. But again, the gas company, the landman who works for the company, not you, the landowner, isn't going to tell you about it. But they give you this paper to sign and say, well, it's passed legislation. Well, if it passed, why do I need to sign? And as a general rule, if you don't need to sign, don't sign. Don't sign. So, Rant and Politician Show, again, my opinions only, but I'm sick of it. I am so sick of it. I'm sick of people getting fooled, people believing something that's just simply not true. So listen, give me a call, see if I can help you. Any and all oil and gas representation, 570-307-0702. And remember, landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. Put the pen down, pick up the phone, and most importantly, have a great, great week, everyone. I'll see you next week.